Welcome, everybody, to my very first interview of my new series called From Struggling to Successful. I'm interviewing amazing women who have overcome adversity to achieve happiness in their lives and business success. So today I'm here with Meridith Elliot Powell. And I'm so excited because we had a brief conversation, right, Meridith?
Yeah, we had a great conversation.
Yeah, and I was like, don't tell me anymore because I want to hear it more for the first time when we actually, speak to each other. So welcome, Meridith. I'm so glad you're here. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what you do today, and then we'll go backwards.
All right, that sounds good. Start out with the success, and then we'll go backwards. Well, I am a keynote speaker, business growth expert, and award-winning author. I've written 4 books, and I travel around the country speaking and talking about helping my clients understand how to succeed no matter what this economy does. I've basically created a life where I get to do what I am passionate about for a living and do it I just beyond my wildest dreams.
That's what we all hope for, right? I mean,
yes, absolutely.
I want to travel and I want to see the world and I want to be able to help other women. And it sounds like you're very similar. But yes. Tell them where you've come from and what your life's been like and what brought you to this place now.
You remember when we were all growing up and those kids who knew exactly what they wanted to be and exactly what they wanted to achieve in life? I was not that kid. I had no idea. And so, I started out with this idea that I think like most young people do, but especially young women, that I would have a career, but probably I would marry, I would have a nice family, and I would have the typical life. And as I started out into the career world, just with, in marketing and public relations, I got married at the age of 21, and unfortunately for me, I married an alcoholic, and he was one of 6 alcoholics in my life, and that started me down a road where I really was challenged both personally and professionally until I woke up at about the age of 37.
Wow, that's a long time, from 21 to 37. That's got to be some huge journey for you.
Yes. Well, I'm on a mission, a one-woman mission.
Oh. I think we froze for a second. Say that again. You're on a one-woman mission too.
To ensure that most people don't have to wait until they're 37 to wake up.
What was that journey like?
Painful. If I had to wrap it up in one word, it would be painful. I mean, basically, I didn't think I was good enough, didn't think I could have, and had no clue how to even formulate a dream or a life for myself, let alone a path to get there. As I look back on it, I remember thinking I wanted things and I wanted to achieve things. But getting them in a form of a vision for myself or a strategy to be able to do that, I just on some level thought those were other people's lives and they weren't my life.
I think that's what a lot of women think. And
I think so too.
They plummet into a depression and they don't take action. Did that happen to you? Like, how did you go from after being married and being lost? What was the key for you? Like, what switched it around?
I love the fact that you said that's what most women feel, because one of my favorite stories is I was out with a girlfriend of mine. She'd been a friend of mine for years, and we're having dinner or something. I don't even know. And all of a sudden, she looked at me and said, "Gosh, Meridith, you're so together. You're so on top of things. You're so smart. You're so funny." No, I started to laugh because I was sitting there thinking the same thing about her. She was thinking it about me. But what I was thinking about myself is what a loser I am. And what she was thinking about herself is what a loser she is. And I just think we're kind of programmed that way, that we don't really focus on all the amazing things about ourselves. But you asked about my journey out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I am one of those people, when the universe comes knocking, I don't listen until the universe seems to be against the wall. Okay. So for anybody listening, tip number one is to listen when the universe taps and says, it's time to change your life. So therefore, my journey was a lot longer and a lot more painful, really, than it had to be. So how it turned around was, I think, in a series of learning lessons. But the biggest really happened in my early 30s when I met a woman by the name of Linda Burwell. I was working in a corporate job. My husband had gone into the depths of alcoholism. I couldn't even remember the last time he'd worked. He'd gone in and out of the hospital like crazy. And I was using all my energy to either pay all our bills or hide my life from other people. I was so ashamed and so embarrassed. And all of a sudden, Linda Burwell, who's this woman we'd hired with the bank, she was a big executive, had come to our region for a visit. And I remember everybody saying, you'll want to meet Linda Burwell. And I said, well, who is Linda Burwell? And they said, you'll know her as soon as she walks in the room, because you'll want to be Linda Burwell. And it was so true. When she walked into the room, she just had this energy about her and this beauty about her. And just, she was unbelievable and a big deal in our company. And for some reason, she sort of took me under her wing. And she said, could I meet with you one-on-one? And I'm telling you, I was a peon at the time. Just entry-level position. She came into my office and she said, you know, Meridith, I think you're smart and you're talented. And she said, so I'm just going to cut to the chase. She said, I have a check in every box. And so here was this beautiful, impeccably dressed woman sitting in front of me who just started off telling me her ex-husband was crazy. She had a dysfunctional family, that she had had all these things wrong in her life. And she said, can we just put those things behind us and talk about how as smart, beautiful, successful women, we can move forward? And that moment was so, and still is so powerful to me. I mean, gosh, it's like 25 years later. But that woman gave me the permission to A, not be ashamed of my life, B, realize that all those things didn't define me. I could be and become anything I wanted to. And number three, and most importantly, the only thing standing in my way was me.
It's amazing that she pinpointed you. How does that happen? That's like, to me, that's the law of attraction.
Oh, I think so too. I really think that energy begets energy. I'm sure that I'm not the only person that Linda talked to, but you have to notice, anybody who's watching this, people will show up in your life to help you constantly. You have to know whether you're there to receive it or not.
How do you know that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure somebody showed up in my life at the age of 20 and I just didn't hear it.
You didn't notice them. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, so self-awareness, self-reflection, and work on yourself is so important, or you'll miss the teachers in your life. You'll miss those people who are going to open doors for you.
It's funny because I actually tell my daughters that, and I should tell my son too. I have 3 kids. It's, don't try to plan so much for the future.
Yeah.
Notice what's around you.
Yes.
And notice the opportunities and the people that come into your life. And you never know what direction you're going to end up going in. I mean, I was one of those, planned out my whole life. Going to be married by this age, have a first baby by this age. And yeah, I ended up divorced too.
I was going to say, how'd that work for you?
Yeah, not so good. I mean, I'm happily married for many, many years, but then suddenly I wasn't.
Yes.
So it is interesting, that awareness of the people who come in around your life and looking at mentors and maybe the reason why they're there. It's huge, but it's so hard for women to get out of their own way.
Yeah.
Out of the hustle and bustle of running the household, raising the kids, being in a relationship. What was the turning, like once you spoke to her, how did you actually then achieve it? Because that's great. That conversation is awesome and you can admire her, but then how do you actually do it?
Oh man, I have so many stories around that, and I'll just throw a few at you.
Good.
Now remember, I am here because nobody learns or changes more slowly than I do. So that's why I have so many stories, because it took a lot. But so my marriage into alcoholism was a huge noose around my neck. I mean, it weighed me down in humiliation and embarrassment. And so I just didn't want the world to know. And so, my life just got worse and worse and worse. Every time I thought my husband couldn't go any lower, he would go lower. And so finally it got so bad that he was, really stealing cars, going in and out of jail. I mean, things like that. And I just,
Wow.
and so for my own protection, I needed to legally separate from him. Good Irish Catholic girl. I was not going to divorce him. But so my friends really talked me into, said, you've got to legally protect yourself. So anyway, so I did that, and we separated. I got him out of the home, which is a little bit healthier for me. And this wasn't long after I'd had this conversation with Linda, but I'm a major enabler. Okay, which I'm talking to many women who are listening. You know, basically, if you need anything, ask me, because I'm going to fall on the sword and give it to you.
Oh,
and
it's so true. I don't know if we're raised that way or it's our genetics, but we're such enablers and do everything for everyone else.
Everybody but us.
Put ourselves last. Right.
So luckily for me, I live in Asheville, North Carolina, which is just a groovy place. You can get any teacher, any therapist, anything you've ever thought of.
Okay.
So I decided that I would spend a year going to every kind of help you could possibly get, which I so suggest. Just be open. Who cares?
Right.
And I found this teacher, guru, therapist, whatever, who really started to teach me about self-care. Now I came kicking and screaming to self-care, but with my husband separated, I would do really well, but he would still call me for money. He would still call me for rent. He would still call me for these things. And I would do great, except for when he was in jail, living on the street or something, I couldn't help myself but give him money. Well, my teacher challenged me. She said, for 1 month, for every $1 he asks you for, just for 30 days, could you go out and spend that money on yourself?
Oh.
I said, well, I don't know if I could do that. She said, just do it once. And as luck would have it, the phone rang and my husband was living on the street and he needed $1,000. And I said, wow, I promised my teacher I'd spend $1,000 on myself. So I thought, I'll commit, I'll do it. I said no. And I took that $1,000 and I went to the spa for an entire weekend.
That's incredible.
I've never looked back.
What great advice. I've never heard that before.
It is unbelievable advice. And I really, anybody who is listening to this, watch yourself. Go get a mani-pedi and go home and see how nice you are to your husband, your significant other, your children. Go take a walk and see how much more energy you have for clients. It really taught me that taking care of me fills my energy up to kill for, what she really taught me. She said, if you give him $1,000, what good are you doing? Are you making any difference in his life?
Right.
No, I'm making it worse. But she said, if you spend you to the spa for the tune of $1,000, what difference is that going to make? I got healthier. I got happier. I got kinder. And I started to see the fact that there was a lot of work to do on Meridith. I didn't need to be throwing stones at my alcoholic husband. I had issues. I had things I needed to be working on. So that's really, after Linda, it was that step. And the more that I started to go inward and stop blaming everybody else, the moment I needed to stop being a hero or a victim. That's my two tests. Am I the hero? Am I saving everybody else? Or is it woe is me? Somebody's asking me for money. Somebody's got to do this and that. That's where I started to turn things around.
You know what happens to a lot of people, and it even happens to me.
Yeah.
You feel like you're being selfish.
Yes.
If you're saying no to someone else in order to satisfy your own needs so that you can be present for everyone else. And that's such a difficult thing for women to overcome.
Well, and I think, Nancy, you're making such a great point, because one reason it's so difficult to overcome is the biggest challenge that I had was I had to change my inner circle. And what I meant by that was because society doesn't doesn't really indulge in self-indulgence. They do think like, how could you not send your husband who's living on the street $1,000 and go to the spa? There's judgment around that.
There is.
So you have to surround yourself with 4 or 5 people who get it, who understand, who have that same value. That's critical. I mean, at the time, I mean, my mother was my biggest champion. I loved her, but she didn't get it. She's all about the marriage and save and down with the ship. And so even with that, at that time in my life, I had to create that little bit of space with some of my family because I was trying to go a different direction.
Right.
And so I think that's so key because you'll start to think you're crazy.
Have you listened lately to Brené Brown?
Yes, I love her.
I love her.
Yeah.
I listened to something the other day, and I want to listen to it again so I can relay it in a more eloquent manner than I'm going to relay it now. But she talks about boundaries.
Yes.
And if you don't have personal boundaries, you're actually not available to be, I think she used the word, the most compassionate you can be.
Yeah.
The most compassionate and giving people in the world have boundaries.
Yes.
And I had to really listen. I'm like, let me think about that. Because if you do have your self-care as first, then like you're saying, you're more available for when people need you.
One of the first things I was in Al-Anon for years because not only my husband was an alcoholic, but 6 male members of my family have actually died of the disease, including him. And so I spent years in Al-Anon. And one of the first rules you learn in there is compassionate boundaries, is to do what is right for yourself and set a boundary as to what you define as acceptable. And it's easy to understand with addicts and alcoholics, but even like with a friend. I mean, you might have a friend who calls you and whines about their lives all the time. You may have a boss who calls you Saturday nights at 10 o'clock. Or what are your boundaries that say, don't cross this? And the reason they're called compassionate boundaries is because once you set them and stick to them, you can find compassion in your heart rather than anger. And letting go of anger is one of the most important self-care. I mean, one of my boundaries was I wouldn't live with my husband if he continued to drink. So once I set that boundary, I could hate the disease, but still feel compassion for the person who suffered from it. And in my own life, like I don't hang out with negative people, with people who complain about their spouses or they talk about their friends or they whine in their lives and don't do anything about it. I don't hate them. I just set a boundary that I don't let that in my life.
Does that make your circle of friends smaller?
Yes.
Okay. Because I'm thinking about my circle of friends. I have so many, fabulous, positive friends, but there are some that are going through a very tough time. And being a coach like you tend to track these people also. Yes. And you don't want to turn anybody off. It's a very hard thing to figure out, like where that starts and ends for you personally, and then where it starts professionally.
I think I always say to myself, because everybody needs their time to sort of vent and things like that.
Absolutely.
But it's always a question for me is, am I helping this person progress or am I holding them back? And that's the question in my head. One conversation about, some situation you're having, Nancy, that's me helping you. 3 conversations, that's me holding you back.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because I'm allowing you to wallow in it rather than move forward. But I will be honest, something that was very difficult for me was to find my voice in that. So it's not like I just cut people out. I mean, I would say, I love you. I care about you. I don't want to talk about this anymore because I'm not helping you. It's not helping me. Right. When you're ready to move forward, I'm your girl. I'm here for you. So I think that's important to find you can have your boundary, but you've got to state your boundary too.
It's interesting because I think the worst nightmare for me, and I know for a lot of women, is when you set that boundary, the worst happens. Yes. That person ends up passing away. And it's interesting that I connected with you because one of my best friends only 2 months ago died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I saw the writing on the wall. I tried to help her, and I started setting my boundaries. Mm-hmm. And I did set my boundaries. And in the end, she ended up passing away. And we knew in the end, it was going to happen, and it wasn't only me who set boundaries. It was a lot of people in her life. But it's so difficult for you to say, was that the right thing to do? Could I have changed that person? But I think you said it best. It's your boundary, and you need to protect yourself, and you're not really going to change that person. You're enabling them.
Well, first of all, I mean, I don't believe that we have the ability to interfere at that level. What you have to understand is when we say yes to something, we say no to somebody else. Like, I'll just give you an example. My mother was never able to set that boundary. Both her sons passed from alcoholism, and she was never able to set that boundary. And she devoted herself very much to trying to save her sons, which did not work. But in doing so, she gave up time and relationship with her daughters. Not that we weren't very close to her, but there was just no room because she was investing so much of her emotion into her heart. So it's, that's the thing we don't realize. We give a martyr to somebody because you're giving everything you've got to the person who's sinking. But you've got to realize you've got a healthy child around you. You've got friends. You've got other people in your life who need you. And I don't feel like boundaries are turning a blind eye. I think they're the kindest thing you can do, because when we enable somebody, we create a place for their disease, whatever it is,
right?
Not having a job, addiction, whatever. We allow it to thrive.
And you're draining your own well.
You're draining your own well, which helps nothing.
Right. Yeah. Which helps nothing. So at the point, so you were making money though, and you were okay financially during all this.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I was paying the bills.
Okay. So that's key. You were paying the bills, which is awesome. When did you turn it around where you're writing books and you're speaking about this and you're becoming a keynote speaker and creating the life you actually have today? When did you flip that switch and go, I'm going to step out of my comfort zone again and take it to a whole nother level? Because I think, again, a lot of women maybe can get to the point where they recognize their enablers or they're not putting themselves first and they need to do self-care. But then how do they jump it up now to another whole level?
Yeah. What a great question. I was treading water. I mean, luckily for me, my disease is workaholism. So as my husband descended into alcoholism, I became a workaholic, which isn't healthy either. I've had to break that habit as well. But as I sort of started to put my personal life in order, in the sense that I wasn't daily actively living with an addict. And I want to say to anybody listening to this, you don't have to be in addiction. I mean, it's really a matter of, I all of a sudden decided, and I remember it clear as a bell, I was sitting in front of my computer in my corporate office working on something, and all of a sudden I thought, is this all there is? Is this all my life is ever going to be? I don't have a happy personal life. I work myself to death. I don't really have a strong circle of friends. And I was edging towards my 40th birthday, and which was years ago. And
I was going to say, you still look 40 to me. So
right.
I didn't need the bio code.
But unfortunately for a friend of mine, but very lucky for me, I have always paid attention to people who are 10 years older than me. And I've looked at people and I've thought, whose life do I want to live and whose life do I not? And I'd never really taken action on it, but I had a girlfriend of mine that had been dating the same guy for 8 years, and they'd broken up, they get back together, broke up. And she was supposed to get married that year. It just crossed my birthday and they were getting married. And he left her at the altar. She was 50. Oh. And I thought to myself, I don't want to be there at 50. Right. I don't want to be in a bad relationship. I don't want to be doing a job I don't really care about. And I thought, I'm 40. I'm old enough to be taken seriously, and I'm young enough to strike it on my own. So in a nutshell, just so people know a first step to take, is I think the two most important things I did is, number one, I gave myself a day by myself in my house all alone to get clarity on what I really thought I wanted to do, which is not what I do now. It was just the first step. It's like, if I were going to do something else, what would that be? Okay. Don't kill yourself in looking for perfection. The second thing I did was really asked myself who needed to be in my support group to make that happen? Who over the next year would I spend 80% of my time with, who could help, support, and fuel rather than detract from what I was trying to do? Because I was about to walk out the door on insurance benefits, a big salary, and a future. So most people would think I'm nuts.
Yes.
So I had to make sure I had that. So I had no clue how I was going to do it. I didn't worry about that. I needed clarity. You know, they've proven now with brain science, if you're very clear on what you want to do, that your brain actually fires different. You'll start to notice people or strategies or classes or things that can help you.
Yes.
So those, in an effort not to overwhelm people, those to me are the first two steps. Don't worry about anything else. Get the right people around you and get clarity on what you want to do. And I'm going to tell you right now, whatever you get clarity on is not what you're going to be doing in 5 to 7 years. I never set out to be a keynote speaker, an author, anything like that. I was going to be a corporate strategist.
But then it goes back to looking around and seeing where you're happy and where your opportunities, where your talents lie.
Yes.
And how you can make money and create the life you want. I'm like that as well. I've listened to coaches at times who say, well, you need to lay it all out, and every step you take needs to be going towards that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm laying it out, and I'm throwing a lot of spaghetti on the wall. I'm seeing what sticks and what I like doing and what I'm good at and what I seem to be able to help people with, and going. Like, I love doing these interviews. You know,
yes.
I didn't know when I first started doing them, I was scared to death.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? I love interviewing other women and finding out how they did it. Excuse my dog barking. I text my son, do not come home, to try to prevent it. Yeah. But, you know, who knows? But that's working from home.
Right.
But did you journal? Did you just visualize? Like, that day you stayed home and said, just what do I want to do? What was the actual process for you?
The actual process for me was to create a vision board, and a vision board that combined my personal and my professional life. Okay. Because what I had found in corporate America, I'd wound up with the job of somebody else's dreams. I mean, the big job, I was going to get promoted and had to move to another city. And all of a sudden I just turned around and thought, that's not the life I want. This isn't where I want to live. This isn't the life I want. And I'd realized I'd spent so many years chasing a dream that had left off one half of my life. Mm. And that was my personal life. And so what I did was backed up and really thought, if I think about my life in 5 to 10 years from now, what do I want it to look like? And I wrote that out and put no judgment on it. I didn't have to say I'd be making $250,000 a year and I'd work for me. I didn't do that. I just said, you know, what kind of change do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? And then I just put that all out on a vision board in certain buckets.
Like cut and paste vision board, or like a Pinterest vision board?
No, I'm a cut and paste kind of girl.
Okay.
I still have that original vision board, and I update it every year. No magazine cutouts, the glue, the whole 9 yards.
So that's your New Year's resolution every year, or whatever point in the year you sit.
Yeah, it's always done. It's always done at the beginning of the year, and it's got professional, personal, health, spiritual, relationship. Things like that. And I look at it every morning while I'm drying my hair.
Wow. And then do you look at your day? I always look at my day and go, what am I doing today? Mm-hmm. Does it get me one step closer to my vision? Mm-hmm. I'm a vision board person too, but I'm more digital. I'm not a cut and paste kind of girl.
Most people aren't. Everybody's like, don't you do a movie or something? I'm like, no, I do it the old way.
You know, and I do a lot of journaling.
Yeah.
And I think, is this serving me well? Is this serving what I'm doing right now? Is it serving me well for what I'm working towards?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I think clarity of mind is so important. I mean, I start every day with 10 minutes of meditation. And if you knew me, you'd know that's a lot of meditation for me. And I read my goal cards. And then the first 20 minutes has to be something positive. I just YouTube something positive going into my head.
So key. I tell people who are suffering from a little bit of a depression or sadness when they wake up in the morning, flood your brain with positivity. I don't know if you've ever heard of Mind PT, but I'm a Mind PT person.
Yes.
And I'm an advocate for them. And I watch that Mind PT probably 3 times a day. And if I don't, I crave it, which is like a vision board.
Right.
Right. So makes my chemicals go up, and I know that. Forget the science behind it, because I crave it now.
Yeah.
If I don't listen to I do all video books on tape, and I listen to them while I'm working out. I listen to them while I'm blow drying my hair, or if I can, listen, putting on my makeup, and I flood my mind with positivity. And this is part of what everyone I talk to has gone through at some point, and still, like, why is it so important? Don't you just get there at some point? Like, that's what people think. Well, you're just a positive person. I'm like, I work hard to be.
I always tell people the only people who get there are Buddha and Jesus Christ. For the rest of us, it's a continual journey.
It's a continual journey.
Yes.
So if someone's looking for a quick fix, does it exist?
Oh no, this is a journey. I mean, my mantra is trust your journey. And so you're going to have bad days. You're going to have bad things. What you've got to trust is that it's part of the process. I mean, I wouldn't give anything for the life that I've had and the experiences that I've had. Even I've done some things I am really not very proud of. And I wouldn't give any, it's all part of it.
Right. So when did you write your first book?
So I wrote my first book. Gosh, I never thought I would write a book. But I wrote my first book. I guess it's been 10 years ago now. And I only wrote it because somebody said you ought to write a book. And so I didn't think anything more about it. And I said, okay, I'll write a book. And I just found that I loved it.
When did you take the leap out of corporate?
Pardon?
When did you take the leap out of the corporate world?
Right at 40.
Really? So it was right then. You just said, that's it.
That's it. I'm done. I walked right out.
Oh, scary, right?
Yeah. It was. Now I did, I went and found some part-time work so I could cover my bills. I'm a former banker. I'm all about covering my bills. But I found like just enough to cover my bills. At the age of 40, I knew I had 5 years to do it or not do it. And so that was sort of the beauty though. I mean, when I hit rock bottom of being married to an addict and he passed away, and then all of a sudden my life I felt like my dirty laundry got aired out. I really felt like I didn't have anything to lose. And there's beauty in not having any. And believe me, everybody has nothing to lose. Nobody cares.
I've never heard that. There's beauty in not having anything to lose.
There is. I mean, I was worried about something, and I said, what if I don't make it? What if I don't this and that? What if I fall on my feet at this, at a keynote when I have 3,500 people? And my mother, who worried about everything, she passed away last Christmas, and she spent her last year she had Alzheimer's quite badly. Okay. And it really taught me, we all just wind up, you wind up eating popcorn in a dementia unit. What are you getting so twisted about stuff? My husband tells me all the time, if you fall on your face during a keynote, do you really think anybody's going to remember 5 years from now? And they really aren't. I mean, it is, maybe that's all you get to do is go out there and continually fail and learn from it. But that's probably not the case, but it just isn't. If you're a brain surgeon, it's a big deal. For most of us, it's not. Right.
The fear of what people are going to think of you.
Right.
And the fear of failure holds so many people back.
Yes.
And I'm like you. You know what? Perfection is overrated. No one connects to perfection because no one is perfect.
Yeah.
And what's the worst thing that can happen? Like you said, they're not going to remember. They're not going to give it more than 2 seconds of thought, if even that.
Right.
But don't you find people are more judgmental when they're the type that judge themselves in that way?
Absolutely. But they're your gift. Without judgmental people, you can't grow. I mean, I really, people who give you a hard time, people who judge you, people who, because what you're doing is judging them right back for judging you. So, I mean, I was listening to this, last night, is that it's, I was out with some friends and everybody's talking about the political situation and everybody's pointing fingers at how bad everybody is. And it just is making me laugh because I think, we're pointing fingers at our government officials for not being kinder, better, and to not be rude, which I mean,
in our judgment, we're doing all those things.
So I always feel like, I mean, I do it too. I'm no Buddha or Jesus Christ. I judge people and point my fingers and say like that. But when you think about it, you need to think, they're there because they're your mirror at that point. and this is your time. Can you rise above it? Can you be what you're expecting other people to be?
That's the journey.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
The journey.
Yeah.
So you're amazing. I think you're beautiful. You're amazing, and you can turn any negative situation into a gift. That personally is what I am hearing from you. Like, you should be happy they're judging you. It brings you to another whole level. And it's so interesting to me. And I love it. I love that way of looking at the crap you've had in your life and going, you know what? That's what's gotten me to that's what's driven me and been my strength behind where you are today.
Mm-hmm. And I really believe that, it is that. And then once you realize that, once you can embrace the things that have happened to you, if you want to go further, you have to embrace your role in those.
Yeah.
Stuff doesn't happen to you without you being a part of it. And for years, I didn't even tell people that my husband was an alcoholic after I got over being ashamed of it, because everybody made me the martyr and him the bad one. And if you look back on that relationship, we were both dancing pretty hard in it. And it's funny, I'm remarried now, and my husband doesn't even drink, and I find myself doing the same things to him.
Oh, we froze again.
Something to do with alcohol is my own issues in there.
Right. You froze again. You say you found your husband to doesn't.
I do the same thing to him that I did. I get as angry at him as for being 5 minutes late from work as I got from my first husband drinking a bottle of vodka, which tells you it's not the vodka. It's my own issues.
Right.
And again, I think that you are given challenges in life to grow to a certain point. But if you want to get to another point, if you truly want to have peace and joy and positivity in your life, you got to turn around and look at everything that happened to you. What was your role in it, and what can you learn from that, and how can you personally grow from there? Blaming other people is a waste of time and energy.
Yeah, that's self-awareness.
It's also not true.
You're right. It's not true. Don't always want to admit that, but you're right.
No, it's fun. It's really fun.
It is fun to blame everybody else.
Oh yeah, I'm all about it. I'll sit down for an hour and do it, but it doesn't get you anywhere.
Yeah, because then I can say that's the reason why I haven't done anything is because of what everyone else has done to me and the way I was raised, and it's always everyone else's fault. That's the easier way out. Yeah. And we always go back to our comfort zone. So to break out of that, it sounds like self-awareness, which I know and you have reinforced, is the way out of that.
Right. And I call it the path to freedom. I mean, again, it's fun to blame people, but the problem with blame is that you're at the end of your story. It's all you're ever going to be. If I blame you for the fact that I'm not successful, the only thing that comes out of that is I'm never going to be successful.
Right.
If I look at the fact that I'm not successful and say, what have I done in the last 5 years? What could I do differently, and what could I change? Then I have a chance to be successful. So that's why I say it's the end of the story. It's fun. But it guarantees you will never rise above a certain level.
So do you believe no matter what a woman has been dished out by way of circumstances in her life, that she could turn it around?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I don't think we have scratched the surface of how much power we have within ourselves.
Right.
To do that. Because turnaround is that can mean so many different things. I mean, I think most of us just want to be balanced and happy and resilient as far as our lives go. And so, absolutely.
Right. And to be able to get up every morning and be enthused about what you do and look forward to something. And I think the self-care was huge because I feel like so many women lose sight of that. They feel guilty over the self-care. And then when they do self-care, then time management seems to be huge too. They just can't seem to get the action steps after they self-care. And they just wrap themselves in that same patterns that they've had for years and years and years. So top 3 tips?
Top 3 tips are, number 1, gain clarity.
Okay.
Not perfection, but gain clarity. Just really nobody else's judgment of who and what you're supposed to be, but get clarity of what you want your life to look like. Number 2 is change the people make sure your support group's where they need to be. Those 5 people, 4 people within your world, make sure they support what you want to do and really tap into that. And number 3 is create the time to create the space to do and act on what you do. You need to take action. The reason my company is called Motion First is because I believe in that. Motion begets motion. Yeah, and so you need to take action. Everybody sits around and waits for something to be perfect. I mean, I remember when I started dating again, I would go out with anybody. I told everybody I knew, just fix me up. I don't care who. And people would be like, don't you want to see him first? I'm like, no, I don't care. And so many of my friends would say, well, you don't want to marry that guy. And I'm like, absolutely not. I want to go have lunch with sandwich with somebody. But if I date, I will find somebody. If I sit in my house and I wait for Mr. Right, I won't. If I sit in my house and wait to create the perfect business, I'll never create it. If I get out there and I do something, even if I fall flat on my face, I learn from that and I move forward. So move, do something.
It's the perfect advice. It's the perfect advice. I love that. So tell everyone, again, where they can find you, what exactly you can do for them. And I know you're giving everyone a free giveaway. I've provided a link and when they signed up for this series. Tell everyone about that.
Well, you can reach me at valuespeaker.com, the word valuespeaker.com. And what I do in working with people is that I help you figure out how to succeed no matter what this economy does. It's a combination of hope, strategy, and execution. If you've got a business, you want to roll it into place in this age of uncertainty, that's what I do, that's what I write, and that's what I speak about. And the free gift I have for everybody was a piece that I wrote after I'd been in business a while ago, but actually a lot of women started asking me for, is how do you build confidence? And everybody thinks it's something that you're born with, and it's not. And so I wrote a book called The Confidence Plan, and I've got a copy of that for everybody that they can get at valuespeaker.com as well.
Fabulous. And again, I'll provide a link for everybody. This was such a great conversation. I think you could probably go on for hours because we have so much in common. It's kind of funny.
Yes.
But you're an inspiration to so many women, and you've given such good tips. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
All right. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to all our listeners for now. I'm Nancy Gansicofer, your business partner. I am a women's life and business coach, and I'm going to love doing this series, and I hope that everyone who's listening reaches out to the ladies that I'm interviewing because they have so much to teach everyone. So have a great day. Bye, Meridith, and I'm going to talk to you soon.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.